I'm in the process of learning what it means to scale things, scale operations. And a lot of it sure comes to writing it down, but most of it really just comes down to action. And I tell this to my staff all of the time. I'm like, listen, if you want to learn how to teach something to someone, you just have to teach something to someone a lot. And that's why it's very, very important. Well, obviously you have to know the skill first and foremost. You have to know an inkling that perhaps someone else doesn't. But in order to teach, the skill of teaching, the skill of conveying a message to someone in a way that they'll understand it, that comes from practice. And at the end of the day, if you want to get into a role where you're managing people, or if you want to get into a role where people are actually there to listen to you in some capacity, you need to know what it is that they're looking for. So a lot of what I do these days, as a big part of my focus in Terabify as education, is educating. So I give my knowledge away for free all the time on these videos, on internship calls, I meet small businesses that might need a little something. I tell them what I can. And what this allows me to do is, first and foremost, it allows me to hone my words. So Jordan Peterson talks a lot about honing our language, making sure that we have the articulation, the ideas down so pat that we can convey something to someone pretty clearly, quickly. And that requires practice. It requires writing, it requires speaking, it requires thinking, the ideologies, the philosophies that we believe in. And I think a lot of people are kind of selling themselves short and saying that, hey, I have these great ideas, but they're not having the conversations, or not communicating those ideas. So a big piece of advice that I'd give anyone that's trying to get into the scaling aspect of life is realizing that you have to do the action all the time. You have to actually try to scale your stuff in order to have relevant information for someone else that might be maybe a little bit behind you in the process. And at the end of the day, that's the most valuable thing, is getting advice from a mentor that really is where you want to go, right? I'm looking for that stuff all the time these days, because I realize that my goal is bigger than the pot of money that I have currently. And that money is not going to expand itself. It's not going to create more money or more opportunities if I just keep it in the bank. I need to spend it on a mentor. I need to spend it to get into the right rooms. I need to spend it to invest in the right situations so that I build up my scaling and my operations and know what that process is, and fail and then continue going. So if you have the luxury of having a little bit extra, and the luxury of having a little bit extra really just comes down to spending habits. I'm gonna tell you this right now, any level of income that you ever get to in life, so your spending habits are gonna determine how much of that income you keep. So I would not blame anything else. I would not blame inflation. I wouldn't blame, your job. I wouldn't blame your hourly wage. None of that matters. At the end of the day, if your spending habits are shit, you're not gonna have anything left over to actually go and find those mentors and actually dedicate to building the skill sets. So a big part of scaling for me is the person that is scaling, the systems and operations manager, needs to be constantly learning new skills, new ideologies of scaling the company, right? When it comes to a sales pitch, when it comes to the nuances of actually executing and getting that client in the door and excited about the product and actually giving you funds, all that stuff happens at a micro level. At a macro level, when you start getting to, okay, I'm dealing with tens, hundreds of people every day, you have to begin realizing that if everyone is not communicating properly, if everyone is not locked into their goals for the day, for the week, for the year, for the month, whatever, and has a succinct way that's expected of them to pursue that goal, if everything isn't clear to every portion of the job, you're going to have a lot of issues down the line. Now, the irony of this is that in order to make everything clear, you actually just need to stumble through a bunch of times and then realize that these are the steps to take. So the approach that I'm taking these days in terms of scaling the Terabify network, which is essentially going to be and is a large amount of optimistic, entrepreneurial leaders, essentially, in society that want to contribute to each other's tasks and actually make a positive difference in the world. In order to scale that operation, I need to understand that everyone that I'm teaching now, I want to become a teacher for people later on down the line. Perhaps employees for Terabify Co., but at the very least, people that have the philosophy of wanting to contribute their knowledge to others. So, how do I do that? How do I make sure that I am creating leaders? Well, we need to ask always, in my opinion, we need to ask where people want to go. And because frankly, that question is the hardest question ever for anyone living. Where do you want to go? Because no one's here to tell you where you want to go. You have to find that inside yourself. So I believe the job of someone that's educating comes down to connecting deeply with how someone wants to be educated, what they want to be educated on, and then go and deliver that as best we can if we have the skill sets. If not, I have no problem whatsoever finding a mentor that does have that skill set and saying, hey, go and spend your time with that person. Because at the end of the day, if my mentee or the person that I'm teaching gets more intelligent, that's going to be better for me, because first and foremost, they'll understand what value I'm bringing to them. And second, they'll be able to give back to me in a greater way because they have more information, they have a greater skill set. So that's kind of how I view this whole thing. It's like, I think a lot of people are vying for the money right off the bat, whereas we need to be vying for systems and skills right off the bat. After you get to a comfortable stage in your life in terms of money coming into the bank and not having to worry about paying bills, after all of that's taken care of, the next step is to building the systems, building the habits to not outspend what you're getting, and then building up, obviously, the people, the employees in your companies, so that someday you can sell your company and make a tremendous amount of money from it, or you can give it to someone else and it makes a lot of sense to them. You know, at the end of the day, the amount of baby boomers, it seems, that are out here trying to just live their life and provide the services that they have for the last 40 years are not very well kitted to actually selling these companies off, because really most of their intellectual property is in their own head. It's not written down anywhere. And so I'm on a mission currently as a way to adapt Terabify's sales process into scaling. I'm on a mission to help these people as much as I can for free, gaining the skill set, and eventually perhaps being able to acquire a company that's worth way more than they could have paid me for my services. So that's just the way that I've been looking at things recently, and it seems to make a lot of sense, because a lot of the bigger people that I talk to in life are not actually, they don't like the whole idea of a young person having no skills asking for a bunch of money. And frankly speaking, as someone that hires people and as someone that constantly is looking for talent, that's something that I don't look for either. I look for people that are trying to build skills, trying to gain more experience in a field more than try to get a quick buck and get out. And it usually shows in their spending habits, because the way that you do anything, the way that you do something is the way that you do anything. John Wick quote. I don't know where that's from, but really, your philosophy in life will show in every aspect of the things that you do. And when you hire enough people and fire enough people, and when you partner with enough people, one will learn that there are certain language cues and certain tendencies that align with philosophies that are not of wealth, and rather align with philosophies that are of limitation, which means, okay, this is the amount of money that I can get and that's about it, rather than this is the person I can become to be worth this amount of money, or that all of this money in the world, I have a say in perhaps grabbing some of it. So when it comes to getting things done, my friend, think about it in a systematic approach, think about it in a people approach, and make sure that you have the good mentors in your life. If you want me to be that person for you, comment below, find me on Instagram, social media, and let's book a call. Let's see what I can do for you. Right now, most of the stuff that I offer is free, in a couple years, when I start having larger contracts with companies and start having a lot less time, my services will have to increase proportionally, and I will still be giving a bunch of stuff away for free, just because that's what makes life fun. But at the end of the day, you know, time matters, and as it turns out, the most valuable time that you'll spend is with people that are willing to pay for that time, because they know how much it matters. So if you found this interesting, click that like button, find me wherever, hit me up. Let's see if I can help you out. For now, it'll be for free. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care of yourself.